Hi, this is Michelle Ziegler. I am the cheerleading coordinator for the New York State Public High School Athletic Association. In cooperation with the New York State Cheerleading Judges Association, we are continuing our webinar series with updates generated by your questions. On the webinar today, we have Val Snellgrove, President of the New York State Cheerleading Judges Association, and Casey Gall, the Cheerleading State Rules Interpreter. The questions that we are answering have been submitted through the Google form on the New York State Public High School Athletic Association website. All previously submitted questions have been answered in earlier webinars. Please note that we will not answer a question if it has been answered in a previous webinar. We do expect that the coaches will go through each of the webinars before submitting questions. We provide these webinars so that all coaches receive the same information on recent questions that have been asked.
We received several questions about the time requirements and restrictions for the different components of a routine and the total time. These questions included: what is the minimum length of time required for the cheer and dance routine combined for competition? How long can the total routine be? What is the total time limit for a team's performance, and does the 5 to 15 second downtime count towards the total time limit? If your cheer goes 32 seconds, but your music is made to be 2 minutes, your total time will now be 2:32. We want to be sure we get the 30 seconds, but we will still want the 2 whole minutes of dance. Will this be a deduction? The maximum routine time is 2 minutes and 45 seconds. This total time includes the cheer, the downtime, and the music time. The cheer needs to be a minimum of 30 seconds, but it would be a good idea to go at least a couple of seconds above the minimum, as the athletes tend to speed up during a competition performance with their adrenaline running. So in the above example, with a 32-second cheer and 2 minutes of music, you need to have a minimum of 5 seconds of downtime. This creates a total routine time of 2 minutes and 37 seconds. This is under the total allowed routine time of 2 minutes and 45 seconds, so a deduction would not apply here. In this example, the downtime could be increased to as much as 13 seconds without going over the maximum routine time.
Our next question is about crossovers and asks, can I have a girl that is on JV and varsity? As a coach, you can pull up someone from JV to varsity, but they cannot compete on the same day with both teams.
Is there a certain length a cheerleader's hair has to be? There is no given length for a cheerleader's hair in the NFHS rules. The important part to remember about hair is it needs to be out of the vision of the participant. So even if a cheerleader has short hair but long bangs, those bangs must be pinned back away from the face. Where can coaches get the skill sheet from? The coaches' progression sheets can be found on the homepage of the NYSPHSAA judges at www.leaguelineup.com/NYSPHSAA. That's spelled NYSCJA. Scroll down to the NYSPHSAA scoring materials to find the routine skill sheets for coaches. Additionally, right at the top of the homepage, you can find a new coaches webinar explaining how to fill out these skill sheets.
Is intent taken into consideration when determining a team's stunt score? For example, a team with 10 members attempts 2 shoulder press to prep to one-legged stunts, and one stunt does not hit. Does the point value start at 8.7 and then they lose points in execution, or does that skill then not count toward the 3 required in determining the stunt skill? The skill does not count towards difficulty because it is not a majority. That skill would be considered a 0. All skills must be a majority to count as one of the 3 required skills. If the team only completes 1 or 2 of the required skills, they would receive a score for the skills that they did complete a majority, and that score would then be divided by 3 to give them the difficulty score. The team could also receive a hit to their execution score if the safety judge determines a deduction is not warranted.
Jumps. Will 4 different advanced jumps score a 5.0? And that answer is yes. 4 different advanced jumps will score a 5.0 on the jump rubric.
We also wanted to clarify a couple tumbling elements. First, to qualify as running tumbling, the skill must start with either a running start or a power hurdle start. The video we're about to show demonstrates a step hurdle in the first pass, which would not count as a running tumbling skill. The second and third passes shown are examples of power hurdles, which would count as running tumbling. Second, I would like to point out that while cartwheels as a single skill cannot be used for both standing and running tumbling, they could be used within a combination sequence involving a different second skill for standing and running tumbling. For example, a team standing tumbling can be a connected sequence of a cartwheel into a forward roll. Then, their running tumbling could be a power hurdle to a cartwheel to a round-off. Note that with any connected tumbling, the sequence must be continuous. If there's a pause between any two skills, then the skills would not be considered connected. Finally, I'd like to clarify the assumption rule. First, the assumption rule can be used to reach majority, but it cannot be used to reach 30%. Second, skills must start the same or involve similar skills to assume a higher skill can be combined for majority with a lower skill. For example, you cannot assume a standing back tuck can do a standing back handspring. Some people can do tucks but don't have the flexibility to do a back handspring. However, you can assume that a round-off back handspring back tuck can do a round-off back handspring back handspring. In this situation, the tumbler has already demonstrated that they can do a back handspring skill, so it's assumed that they could then do the second back handspring in that sequence. Another example is you can assume that a standing full can do a standing tuck, as they involve similar elements, both being aerial skills.
If I have 51% of my team do round-off back handsprings, 30% do round-off back handspring tuck, and one person does a round-off full, will I be awarded sprinkle points for that full on top of my 30% score for round-off back handspring tuck, since I showed a running tumbling skill in majority? No, if your highest skill is at 30%, you will receive the score for that skill, but because it was not in majority, will not receive any additional sprinkle points.
Our next question asks, if my majority running tumbling is 6 and some is 3, if I have 3 tumblers do round-off back handspring, and then right behind them 3 are doing round-off back handspring back tuck, do I get my majority skill based on the assumption rule that they can all do a round-off back handspring? And that answer is yes. You would get points for that being a majority skill, but that is contingent on the number of athletes that are on the team. This question goes on to ask, and then do I get a higher score for some doing the round-off back handspring back tucks? And then, since I showed a majority skill, will I get sprinkle points on top of the sum points if I have one of the tumblers do a round-off back handspring full later in the routine? Please note that you would not get majority tucks, simply majority back handsprings. Also note, based on the progression sheet that you see sampled down at the bottom of this slide, that you would get higher points for some athletes doing a round-off back handspring back tuck than you would for majority team doing round-off back handspring. So those are always considerations that you need to keep in mind. Please also keep in mind that no additional sprinkle points will be added when the 30% or some points are awarded.
My team used props, signs in our cheer, and we did not receive a check mark. The judge said we didn't use them effectively. So what is effective use? If a team uses props, the indicator is used, just like all of the other indicators. The team may not receive a check mark even if they have used props. The judge should be giving a specific explanation as to why the props were not used effectively. Be sure that the props are tied into the cheer, whether it is signs corresponding to letters or colors being used, or palms signifying colors and yelling the corresponding color are a few examples. If there is only a brief attempt to use a prop and it has no real impact or correlation to the cheer, it will not be deemed effective by the judge. We used tumbling in our cheer but did not get credit for it on the score sheet. I thought that we just had to use any skill and it would be counted. If a team uses a skill in the cheer, they should receive a check mark. The skills must be from one of the main rubric areas, jumps, tumbling, stunts, or pyramids to qualify. The judges have been reminded of this.
Next question states, we recently competed at a competition and did a 2.5 high Baja without a twist and received a 5-point deduction. We are extremely confused because if a Baja faux at 2.5 high is legal, why wouldn't a Baja without a twist be legal at 2.5 high? Also, if what we did was not legal, could you please explain how to do a 2.5 high Baja faux legally? Well, there is no such thing as a 2.5 high Baja. If it's 2.5 high, then it would be counted as a release move and will need to be braced on one or both sides. A Baja is a suspended roll, not a release move. And as stated in other questions on this webinar, please submit the video to your local rules interpreter for clarification. Our next question asks, the shoulder press release to sponge is scored at a 7.2. What would a sponge level handstand release to sponge score at? And while we think we are clearly interpreting your question, what we would ask is that you submit a video of this to your cheer rep in your section. We generally don't answer these type of questions without seeing them because we want to make sure that what you are asking is the same as the way that we are interpreting the skill. So again, please submit that video to your cheer section rep, and if they can't answer it, they will submit it to the subcommittee for scoring clarification. Our next question asks, if I do a round-off land in inversion position and a half turn up to extended 2 feet, what would that score? I see handstand go to extended, but nothing about round-off half turn to extended. In the case of this question, we would need to know where the inversion is happening. A video would need to be submitted. We don't generally answer these type of questions without seeing a video because we want to make sure that what we are interpreting is correct. Please submit a video to your cheer rep from your section.